got an email here, rad@radradio.com. This one's from Trevor.
Hi, Trevor.
Although we're getting a ton of emails just saying, "Oh, it's so great to have Steve back. Love Steve."
I know, I love
It is great. We don't have time for those emails, though. We got to talk sports. Trevor says, Steve. He's back. Steve, what about this is baseball. What about the Giants? What the heck? I thought they were going to fizzle out in May, and yet here we are, Steve. Best record in baseball for the San Francisco Giants.
You know, everybody thought they would, but they really strong pitching, you know, with their starters and stuff, even though Johnny Cueto right now is hurt. And the stuff they do with their lineup. I mean, they platoon, they have lefties, they have righties, they put the ball in play, they take the extra base, they do things that you're supposed to do in baseball, which is kind of not where the game is today. Everybody sits back, let's just hit the home run, you know, and we sit there and 38% of every at-bat's a walk, a strikeout, or a home run. You know, the Giants move runners, they take the extra base, they play great baseball. They're exciting to watch.
The smart money, the expert money, says that the Los Angeles Dodgers unequivocally have the most talented roster. That they have on paper the best team. Do you agree with that assertion?
They do have the best team. The problem with the Dodgers has just been injuries to their pitching staff. I think they've used something like
nice. That's nice. Injuries.
You wish injury on.
I don't. I want to beat the team at the best.
Right. You know, they've used like 24 different relief pitchers since the end of July. It's tough to be consistently good when you're constantly bringing up just any fresh arm you can because your entire pitching staff's hurt. But the Dodgers are very talented. I just hope they don't catch the Giants. I want the Giants to win that division and make the Padres the Dodgers go play in the wild card game.
That's my hubby's team.
Giants have a 2.5-game lead over the Dodgers right now. What about the Oakland A's? They've been fading. They've had, are they still losing? I know they lost 4 in a row at one point, but now they've won their last 2.
Yeah, they've been struggling. You know, they brought Chris Davis back. Hey, maybe he'll give them a spark. But Bassett going down really, really hurt.
That's the guy that got hit in the face. For those of you
with the line drive.
That
he was like their ace pitcher, and they haven't been the same since he took that line drive off his face. But you know, they're good. I just don't think they can chase down the Astros. The Astros are a really talented team.
So who do you like going all the way to the World Series?
I don't think people are going to want to hear this, but I actually have the White Sox playing the Brewers.
What happened to the Giants?
Wow.
Which I think is totally off the chart from what people are expecting. I just think both teams are really good, and they have the starting pitching, and I think that's key when you get playoff time.
What a job 1 million old Tony La Russa has done with the White Sox.
And I actually have the White Sox winning it. La Russa comes back, coaches 1 year, wins a World Series ring, and retires again and says, you know what? I've done it all.
What a story that
we were just talking about the Giants. Now they're playing this phenomenal baseball that nobody plays anymore. What happened to them?
I just don't think they have enough depth when it comes time.
You know how we've talked before, Don, about how the Oakland A's, although it won't pan out this year unless something miraculous happens, they get to the playoffs every year, and then they immediately lose because they're not built for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Same thing, Steve, with the Giants. Do you think they're not built for those short series?
Gausman throws really well. Cueto comes back. DeSclafani's had a good year for them. I just don't think they have the starting pitching. When you can sit and where I go with the Brewers is you're looking at Woodruff, you're looking at Corbin, you're looking at Peralta. You got 3 shutdown starters right there. And the same thing with the White Sox, although right now Lynn and Giolito are out, but I think pitching wins. We saw it, and Madison Bumgarner, won a World Series for the Giants by just being incredible in postseason. But, I just think those teams have the pitching in order to win it.
Most of the country is going to be extremely bored if you're right.
I know.
A White Sox Brewers World Series. Last baseball question. Are the A's going to stay in Oakland, or are they going to be your next Las Vegas team?
I hope not. I'd love to see them go to Vegas. I'm not sure they're going to go.
This is a homer answer.
I'm not sure they're going to go to Vegas. If I'm the A's at this point, they've been asking for a new stadium for 30 years. The city's never given it to them. They haven't done anything. I would leave Oakland on principle. At this point, I would just say, you know what, we'll go to Nashville, we'll go to Montreal, we're going to go anywhere because you've had 30 years to fix this problem, and you still don't want to fix it.
As an A's fan, I actually agree with you. It's appalling the way that city has responded. All right, let's get back to football. ESPN did their simulation of the entire 285 game 20,000 times to create their projections. And it played out every single game to determine that the 3 most likely teams to win the Super Bowl, so these would be your 3 best teams, are in order the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Buffalo Bills. Do you like that?
I think those probably are the 3 best teams.
What about the Green Bay Packers and the Los Angeles Rams? They're also in most power rankings as I look at them going in.
Yeah, the Packers, you got to wonder. Their defense is somewhat suspect. I'm not sold their defense is all that good. Their offensive line is questionable. It's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's going to win 8 games easily by himself. It's just, is he going to be motivated? It's going to be his last year in Green Bay, or is it one of those, if things start going south, that he just says, you know what, I'm out of here at the end of the year. Let's just be healthy, get out of here, and I'm going to go play for Denver or somebody next year.
Who are your give me 1 or 2 teams to watch, like surprise teams? Either they're going to be way better than we expect or a lot worse.
My surprise teams, number 1 is the Minnesota Vikings. And as much as I dislike Kirk Cousins,
Surprise good?
I think the Vikings are going to be a surprise good. My number 2.
I hope he gets COVID.
Why don't you guys like him?
My number, because he's all about stats, not about winning. He's not about the team. He's about himself, which gets into the unvaccinated that we discussed earlier. My number 2 is the 49ers.
Bad or good?
Good.
What week does Trey Lance take over?
To jump ahead, my Super Bowl predictions: the Chiefs and the 49ers.
Again?
What?
Yes.
And okay, so now let's go through the timeline then. With Garoppolo as the starter?
Yes.
All the way through.
I am hoping for total chaos. Garoppolo goes through, and I think Trey Lance will have packages for him, but I think Garoppolo is going to come back. You know, Nick Bosa's back on defense. The Niners had so many injuries last year. They were not the same team. If they can stay healthy, they are as talented as any team in the NFL. And if Garoppolo can stay healthy, I think he can take him to the Super Bowl. If Garoppolo gets hurt and Trey Lance takes over, I do not believe the 49ers make it to the Super Bowl.
Do you agree, though, that Trey Lance has looked excellent in preseason?
I think Trey Lance has looked excellent at times.
He's a kid.
Correct. You can see the star in him. I mean, you can see the brilliance, and you can see what. I just don't think he's ready. And
so your prediction hinges entirely on Garoppolo staying healthy and staying the starter, but you believe if he does, the Niners are talented enough to get all the way to the Super Bowl.
Correct. I think Garoppolo can lead them to the Super Bowl if he's able to play 16 games and stays healthy.
It's 17 games.
So
before somebody writes in,
No, it's
first year. For us old guys, it's hard to remember that.
It's been a good year for my hubby because the Giants are doing good. Then if his Niners do good,
right? Remember, the Giants are going to disappoint him immensely if Steve's right.
And I want to see what the 49ers do at the end of the year when Garoppolo. Do they sign him? Do they still trade him even though he just took the team to the Super Bowl?
Well, this is the exact thing you said when we were talking about the draft. Is what happens if Garoppolo wins the Super Bowl? I mean, do you then give? I mean, he's worth a lot. Then he's great trade bait, but do you give up a Super Bowl winning quarterback or does Trey Lance sit for 3 years then?
But you're giving up future first round picks too, so it's not like you've already paid the debt and it was last year's draft. You're paying in the future too to sit on the bench. That's tough to swallow.
I'm definitely pushing for the Buffalo Bills this year because hashtag put the lotion in the basket.
I knew it.
What about the Raiders? What do you see in them this year? Because everything that I read getting ready for us to talk, like ESPN, USA Today, most people have the Raiders finishing last in the AFC West.
No.
I think the Raiders are decent. I don't. They could finish last. They really could.
No.
But you know what? They could be a wild card team too. I think they can surprise people. I don't know what to expect from them. They could be a playoff team. They could be one of the worst teams in football. Comes down to that defense, and the reason I don't have them making the playoffs is I don't think the defense is very good. I think they've missed on draft picks. You sit there and you have high hopes, but then you watch the draft and they take an obscure guy in the second round that they could have gotten in the fourth round, and then you see, hey, look, we drafted this guy in the third round, and they release him. Draft picks normally make it into their first season, and you'll see the Raiders trade away draft picks. You'll see them cut guys, which, to me means that their player development's just not there in their scouting. That you're drafting a guy and 3 months later you've already given up on him. Well, you're doing something wrong.
That means that John Gruden has one more season? to really do his magic? I mean,
$10 million a year. That's tough for 10 years.
you think he's safe no matter what?
I think Mayock is the guy. Their general manager is the guy who could be in trouble, and Gruden would just say, "Hey, look, Mayock's making the decisions on who we're drafting, and he's the one who's making the mistakes." And I think Gruden gets a bye. Now, if they then let Mayock go and they bring in another GM and they continue down this road, then I think at that point, so at about year 6, I think is when Gruden will really start getting in trouble.
Isn't it motivating to play in like a nice, shiny new stadium?
That kind of goes out the window once the ball is snapped. Then it's really talent on the field at that point. But that's a very adorable question. All right, so one more thing before we get to the games. I've got Mike McCarthy of the Cowboys as the coach on the hottest seat, even though it's only his second year, because the Cowboys they cannot keep not winning. And I don't know if they're going to do I don't believe McCarthy's a very good coach, but either do you agree with that, and or who's your coach that's most likely to go during the season?
I think McCarthy's on the hot seat. I think the Cowboys are going to end up winning that division, and it comes down to Dak Prescott.
So then he's fine.
If he stays healthy, I think this Cowboys team's going to win that division because he's hands down the best quarterback in that division, and it's a quarterback league. Coaches, I think, obviously, I think the Texans coach, he's brand new. He'll be gone at the end of the year because the Texans are absolutely horrible.
Worst team in the NFL, right? Even worse than your Lions.
Yeah, they're really, really bad. Urban Meyer's gotten a lot of bad publicity, and he hasn't even coached a game in the NFL yet. He's not going to go anywhere because he's Urban Meyer, but it surprises me how much bad publicity he's gotten, and people are all over him, and he's never coached a game.
Oh, we just got this email from Tracy. Says, I'm a Bears fan. Yes, I know,
Bears.
horrible. But can Steve comment on the Bears and if he thinks we might have a good year?
I think the Bears can be decent. They rely on that defense to get things done. Nagy this year has said that he's going to commit to running the ball at least 20 times a game. And that was their big problem last year, is they were so fast to abandon the run because it just didn't work in Chicago. But you can't abandon it. You got to keep trying because it takes the pressure off the quarterback. Justin Fields, I'm not sold that he's as great as everyone says. Andy Dalton, to my opinion, is a backup. I think the Bears are just a solid third-place team. I think they'll flirt with 8 and 9 is where I think they'll probably finish up. They might go 9 and 8, but I think that's about as good as they get.
What about the the Arizona team with J.J. Watt?
It's going to be an exciting team. I like Arizona. It's a shame they're in the division they're in.
No, it's not.
You sit there and you look at, and to me, that is hands down the best division in football. I mean, the worst team in the division is still a playoff contending team, and if you put them in another division, would compete for the division title in pretty much most every other division. If you throw them in the AFC East, they'd probably win that division.
So that's what we got. You got the Rams, the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals, and those they're all marquee teams going in.
Yeah, and I got to re-say, the Bills are great. They probably wouldn't beat the Bills, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, they're a playoff team, but the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Rams.
Now, the Rams have your old quarterback, and everybody says this is the best thing the Rams have done.
It is, but the part that everyone's overlooking is the Rams were really hit by the salary cap, and so they've had to allow a lot of players leave who aren't the stars. They're not the Aaron Donalds, but that next tier of very good players because they can't afford to pay them. So they've lost their depth. They've lost that next layer. Their line is terrible. I mean, it's a good thing they got Stafford because he's used to never having an offensive line. So it's nothing new to him. He's just saying, hey, look, terrible line, but I got good wide receivers, so I'm in a better situation. But I love Matthew Stafford. I think he's a really good quarterback. It's just everyone's jumping on that Rams bandwagon, and they're not looking at the players they've lost.
In your scenario of the Niners going to the Super Bowl, you have them winning the NFC West?
I have the 49ers winning the West.
By the way, who do you have disappointing? Did we hit on that? Do you have any teams that it's like they're not going to do what people expect?
The two teams I have disappointing is one, the Saints. I really don't think we've come to think the Saints are always going to win. Drew Brees always found a way to win for the Saints, except in the playoffs and clutch games.
No.
When he found a way to lose in the last minute of every single game, it seemed. I just don't think Jameis Winston, I don't think Sean Payton can coach his mental mistakes out of him. And the other team is the Seahawks. I don't
Ooh, I
think,
like that.
I don't think the Seahawks have done enough to beef up that offensive line. We heard Russell Wilson bitch about it all off season on how, look, I can't keep getting hit like this. And I don't think they've done enough to offset that. And again, in that division, everyone thinks the Seahawks are great. I'm not convinced that they're not the last place team.
So a couple notes. I think bitch is the worst cuss word I've ever heard you use, and I don't think I've ever heard you use it until today, which you've done twice now.
And
You don't curse much, do
He
you?
doesn't. I love
not
it.
at all.
Oh.
Secondly, I hope my mom's listening because you just broke her heart because she loves you, but she's a bandwagoning fan. She just goes to the place that either has the cutest coach or the cutest quarterback.
Oh, I love that.
And so right now it's the Chiefs in the AFC and it's the Seahawks in the NFC. So hopefully she heard that and threw something to radio.
Yeah, but I still got the Chiefs. So, we're 50-50,
Oh, and believe me, she's already decided if it's Niners Chiefs, the Chiefs are going to beat my Niners, and she's going to send me mean texts all day like she did just 2 years ago. That was cool.
Speaking of which, have you guys ever noticed that the Buccaneers logo looks a lot like the Raiders logo, just decomposed? Like it's the same skull but just rotted.
Yeah.
That is actually pretty
Yeah.
observant. What about Mac Jones is going to be the starting quarterback for the Patriots? They released Cam Newton. Mac Jones is the guy that you said the Niners should have taken if they were going to get rid of Garoppolo, and now Bill Belichick agrees with you. He's ready to play in the NFL.
I was surprised they cut Cam Newton. I think that surprised everyone. But, Mac Jones, to me, was the most pro-ready quarterback coming out of the draft. The Patriots have a great defense. They have a top 5 defense. They just need a guy who can maintain that offense, not make mistakes, and that's where I think Cam Newton gets into trouble. Plus, he's a terrible passer. Yeah, he can run and open things up, but he can't throw the ball consistently to anybody. So I think they just wanted that quick release with Mac Jones, just hit the receivers, keep the ball moving, and allow the defense to win games. I think the Patriots are a playoff borderline team. I think they're in the hunt for the wild card. I think they're a second-place team in that division.
This reminds me, you guys talking about the Patriots.
Oh, God.
There's some commercial that Brady's doing. I have no idea what it's for. I have no idea. But he calls this bar, and when the guy behind the bar picks up the phone, it just says traitor, and for Tom Brady. And he's like, hello. And he's like selling something to him, and then he's like, oh, you take me back. I'm like, no, he wouldn't. And everybody's in the bar is like, yes, we would.
It's a cryptocurrency commercial.
Oh, okay.
So way over Dawn's head. All right.
Whatever.